Hey, I'm Bill, this is Vital Bike Chains, and I want to show you some KMC chains for 8 speeds. I see a lot of 8-speed chains on BMX bikes. A lot of them run the 3/32 chain rings. A few run the 1/8, so 8-speed chain is not an option, but most of them run an 8-speed chain. A lot of times I see the KMC X8. X8 comes in lots of flavors. There's also a rust prevention version of this. And then every once in a while, I see something called a Z8. So what is a Z8? And actually, what is an X8? So here's a Z8. This is the Z8.1. Now it does say narrow on the links. So it's a narrow chain. And then it says the pin width is 7.1 millimeters. Well, how does that compare to this? And how does that compare to the Z8.3? So if you go to KMC's website, I think that's where I got this, there's a sheet that shows you all the chains, and I'm just looking at the 8-speed chains here. You can see all the options. You have 2 options of color for the X8 plus a rust prevention flavor. Then for the Z8.1, you also have 2 colors and 1 rust prevention option. Then moving on to the Z8.3, you basically have 1 option. And finally, if you see a chain that has just totally, absolutely flat outer links, then you either have the Z7 or the Z6. The Z6 has cutouts in the inner plates. And of course, we want to know more about each of these, so on their website you can pull up the 8-speed chains and view them all. And then you get to pick the one you want to look at. Oh, by the way, they do also have an e-bike chain. If you have an e-bike, I really suggest an e-bike chain, not just one that says, hey, yeah, you can also use this chain for e-bike, but one specifically for e-bike. If you look at one of these KMC e-bike chains, you'll notice the pins are very, very different. So I was curious to know the difference between the X and Z chain besides the price. So I emailed KMC and pretty quickly they responded. And they said the X chain is basically a better chain. It's a prolonged life chain versus the Z chain. A couple other specs. The chain only comes in 116 links and it weighs 286 grams. I don't know if that's for 116 links or the standard 114. So then I pull up the specs for the 8.1 chain, and it says that it also is 116 links. And then it says that it weighs 305 grams. So that's a significant weight difference. And finally, onto the 8.3 version, the Z8.3. It also is 116 links, and it also weighs 305 grams. And here's some bonus information. The Z8 chain uses a different master link than the X8 chain. Just good to know. So now I have the Z8.1 in the stand. I'm gonna measure it with my caliper. By the way, when I turned on my caliper this morning, it was a very wonky display, and I changed the battery in there, and it all seems fine now. So let's give it a try. And so with my calipers, with the fresh battery, I get 7.1. Awesome. So I found a little piece of a Z8.3. It's a used chain, but that really shouldn't change the pin width. So let's give this one a go. And when I check it, I get 7.29. Oh, that's pretty close to 7.3. So here's the kind of the old Z8.3 I had hanging out on the top, and it says narrow, and then I have my new 8.1 on the bottom here, which also says narrow. So is it narrower? why would you want this version? Why would you want the one with the wider pins? I just couldn't think of a reason. So I did a little research, and all I could come up with was that the Z8.3 and the X8 chain are interchangeable. So then it's really just about the price point. You could save $7 by choosing the Z8.3. Well, hopefully this at least gives you a starting point when you're trying to choose which KMC chain you need for your 6, 7, or 8 speed. And I'll catch you next time.